Well, hello everybody. I'm sorry for earlier. I'm going to fix this. I see that changed a little bit, but that's okay. So I'm being blocked for choices of music. They say it's all about copyright. Doesn't matter what I own, what I've purchased. You can't share that in Canada if the government of Canada says on Facebook you can't. Clearly, people are trying to tell me, oh, no, that's not truthful, Dave. It's not about who the song is and who it belongs to. Well, clearly it is, everybody. I'm blocked left, right, and center. Why buy music? Age old music's to be shared. If I gotta go purchase it commercially, if I want to play it in a park for everybody to hear, that's my choice. I want to do a live, have it there playing. It's unbelievable where we are as a nation. Clearly, any song in relation to any right conservative movement or any thoughts against monopolization of capitalism or reference against socialism seems to be deemed copyright infringement. But yet, if it's an extreme socialist song backing up the government's agenda, I seem to play them all day long. Sorry for Hockey Night in Canada, folks, but that's all there really is, besides me dipping through the socialist roster of extremely Marxist-Leninist songs popularized. Apparently those are okay, but anything against government administration in Canada is deemed copyright infringement, and I can't use it. Doesn't matter if I commercially bought that and I own it. Doesn't matter. I'm not allowed to share it in any respective and none whatsoever. But socialism songs that reinforce Marxist-Leninist views seem to go through. I've proved this time and time again. Tried to play North to Alaska. Huge. It's all about the gold rush for my home province of Alberta. It's massive all the way up through the territories, specifically Yukon, the former Northwest Territory. That little pie triangle called Yukon, where it meets at the tip into Alaska, and ANWR. Donald Trump pumps it out today, how he could stop Russia. ANWR. Brings it back. He says it's Reagan's baby. Reagan Foundation's baby. I am a master. And in fact, friends with the president of the Reagan Foundation, Mr. Donald Trump, and for all media tagged, Canadian media, specifically to my home province, Alberta, you can look. I grew up on the very beginning of the Gold Road in North America. The very beginning, folks. It's where I grew up. You'll find two Indian reserves there, Canadian Indian reserves. That Gold Road goes all the way up through what is Grand Prairie and continues on all the way into parts of, yes, the Yukon, right into northern BC, all the way up to Alaska at the final destination, the Old Gold Road. Currently, it was Alberta's great coal road, the largest, most powerful industry for energy independence of the day Alberta ever had, until we got into, of course, natural gas and oil and many other great resources found in plenty right here in Alberta, which brings me to ANWR and the truth that Donald Trump likes to shy away from, that very much bothers me, even though, to his credit, and this is why Rachel Notley's tagged here. Rachel Notley had trains running to Vancouver. Trains running to Vancouver for oil. Well, Donald Trump said, you know what? I have a better solution. ANWR. Let's go north to Alaska. The Old Gold Road. That begins right in Edmonton, Alberta, just west of Edmonton. It begins in a community that I grew up in, and it starts there and it finishes in Alaska, completing ANWR. But where did ANWR come from? Well, I can tell you all clearly. Clearly, it's from Richard Nixon and the American Indian civil rights monumental achievements. Monumental. More than that is the UNSCP 5 completely on board with it in real law. How was that achievable? The recognition of Beijing. Go look at China, what they post on Twitter, what is solidified. Solidified. Bringing you back to 1973 and Richard Nixon, which is the birth of Anwar, the complete settlement of the American Indian, allowing Anwar and Alaska to go through, folks. Should have been a boom for all of the Midwest. Absolutely Alberta, northern BC, Yukon, portions of the Northwest Territory now broken into subgroups. Absolutely all the way to Alaska. Signed, sealed, certified, giving great prosperity to the American Indian and the Inuit. All through the Arctic Council, all in full sponsorship of the UNSCP 5. Nobody ever likes to tell you history as it really is. I've tagged lots of media. You watch, no one's going to write the story, just like I am not even allowed to publish the song leading up to the intro that matches this narrative. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. Donald Trump gives a half-truth. I guess it's better than nothing. Talks about Anwar, brings it back alive. Energy independence. I can tell all Albertans today, Americans just polled on Canada's supply of energy. You are down with Venezuela, Iran. The vast majority of Americans do what Americans do since 1924. In a clear, resounding majority, it's defeating for Joe Biden. Donald Trump's playing into it. He should. That's great. But at least for once, can politicians not be liars? Can media write a truthful story? At least from that right side of the coin. But it looks like it's not to be. It's not to be. The truth of Richard Nixon, I guess it's a shame, a stain. How dare he go after the communist embedments in the Democrat Party? He did a gross violation of the American people. The only president guilty of it, because he admitted to it when questioned. You're right, you caught me. I'm sorry. I'm going to take my lumps. In a supermajority, Donald Trump couldn't even get in his wildest dreams, which is what America needs to see happen. Right or left, the administration's been armbarred for many, many decades because the American people are split. Can't get a whopping majority Senate, House, you just can't get it. Because politicians continually lie about history. They attempt to rewrite history. You can't get any academics on board because it's clearly lies. I know, I'm in that world. I've been in that world for 3 years, been in the top universities in the world. So if it's hitting me as a clear lie or half-truth or more propaganda, more so than everywhere else, even worse by Joe Biden, many, many breaches of many, many truths leading to fractures of the American Constitution. It's sickening, it's sad, it's disturbing. Anwar was the release of exploration via American Indian settlement, much prosperity and self-determination, self-government that led to the ability to explore, to get out of the Arctic, folks. Arctic deep sea shipping. Richard Nixon on it. Brought the American Indian forward with it to do as they choose. The federal government, the nation within the nation, gets to choose. But now we have a left Democrat Party that blocked that entirely. Rachel Notley said it was a good idea for California ship via rail, but not to Alaska, not out to world market, bypass all of what is Cascadia, unceded land. America doesn't want to address the American and Canadian Indian, the one peoples, ashamed of British Quebec and what is now America and what that brings, just like southern states, what it brings from France, England, and Spanish slave times, and what was brought to North America. America fought and finally got rid of. You can say they didn't do it fast enough. Yeah, you got to win civil wars, folks, and they did. They did. War of Independence was just the first. There's been much. There's been much for America. America's always been in perpetual state, always attacked by 5 colonial powers. Don't kid yourself. Alive and well today. You should see all the reports on arms trades around the world. You find it, you find it, you find it. Many, many narratives. ANWR, that is the Alaska route to the world stage. Canada could easily have gone through it. Donald Trump tried to make that happen. He redid what Rachel Notley did for Vancouver, made the executive order, gave it for Canadians. Now Joe Biden blocks all that. ANWR was scrapped immediately. His executive order for Alaska, that was one of the first things Joe Biden said. You can go back on my Facebook. I told everybody this was going to happen. The beautiful part is now we're seeing a reimagining of the territorial boundaries and districts in real mapping changes, making it so Democrats in certain states are never going to get elected ever again. The ocean of red, the Republican red, is now being crossed over into those municipalities. What were swing states or could be swing states will no longer be. Things will come forward. Donald Trump gives a half-truth, possibly the shame of a president who told the truth, took his lumps. No other radical president since has ever been honest, has ever resigned, even in a much, much, much lower approval rating. Joe Biden doesn't even have 1/3 of the country behind him anymore. He's only got less than 44% of the Democrats behind him now. We can look at the province of Alberta, Jason Kenney down in the dumps. To put it in perspective, Ralph Klein resigned in a just under 50% approval rating. He said, if less than 50% of Albertans don't want me around anymore, I have no choice but to resign, because that ain't right to rule in a region or a country where you're not approved by 50% of the voting public. Presidents, prime ministers, they continue on like this. No problem. No problem. That's okay. What kind of shit show are you running? If you haven't read ANWR, the claims by Donald Trump, which a lot of it credible, verifiable, I love it, not the full history, not the entire truth, doesn't account for the American Indian civil rights massive achievements and drafting of ANWR, approved and passed in supermajority by one Richard Nixon, all overshadowed in history. You know, cross it out. Oh, don't reference Richard Nixon. That's evil. That's bad. He told the truth. He was a real president who had a super approval rating, way higher than any of the dumbbells we've seen in recent times. I can tell you that. In monumental decades for Americans, media. Come on, look at all the numbers. Look at the massive majority Richard Nixon had, and he still resigned. There was no way to force him out if he didn't want to go. He is the first accountable, self-accountable president the world would ever see, has seen, and will ever see since, likely. That's how bad executive power and the absolute need for an American amendment today. You don't hear any Albertans chiming out about ANWR, about the recent poll Trafalgar. Massive, massive, credible polling in America. Canadians, do you know what that poll comes back with? Americans, America first, American oil. Second place, sure, Canada. What was your score? 14.6%, meaning only one in nearly 8 Canadians. I guess two out of every 12 Americans says it's okay if Canadians, 1 in 6 almost would say maybe Canadian oil, maybe, to alleviate the energy crisis. We are never going to see Keystone XL ever come back to light. With Joe Biden or with Donald Trump, I'm sorry. They know it's bad, bad juju. Alberta doesn't see the viability with any of the elected right now or former, like Rachel Notley, Jason Kenney. They think it's a good idea to shallow port to California for deeper discounts. No north to Alaska for Alberta. No nearly full price for your products. None of that going out to deep sea through that Arctic port. Nope. Richard Nixon made that happen. He made it possible for the American Indian self-determination, self-government, and settlement of the claims to migrate to Canada. It could and should start in Alberta. Migrating through BC, let's knock the unceded back. Let's start with settling this country. Let's get everybody in a form of prosperity. But that is against the Laurentian elite. It's against the narrative of one Joe Biden and his complete administration. Absolutely dead against Pierre Poilievre. For all those championing Pierre Poilievre, I am sorry, carbon pricing is carbon tax. You can call it anything you want. NDP Jagmeet Singh calls it the green equalization formula. So does the Bloc Québécois. Pierre Poilievre calls it carbon pricing. All from all those organizations you all don't like. Pierre Poilievre, dirty is dirty. Oh no, everybody. My entire career is a lie, Pierre Poilievre. My entire career is a lie. Last year I saw the light. I saw the money. As Prime Minister, and Canadians are gullible. And I'm allowed to lie. Doesn't matter what I put in writing. How many votes I did the other way. No matter how many groups I've met with. All the people rotten with corruption. Doesn't matter how many have patted Pierre Poilievre's pockets. How many group photos and opportunities he's had and got involved as a lifetime Privy Council member under Harper. If you don't know by now, Stephen Harper sold everybody he extorted money out of in the province of Alberta and that northern BC and that Saskatchewan to get his power base as he screwed over Premier Ralph Klein, who turned Alberta right around regardless of what people want to say. He blew Donald Trump out of the water. A regional premier even blew Donald Trump's records out of the water. Donald Trump couldn't hold a candle. And he had to do a lot of good things. He did. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Donald Trump's garbage. He did a lot of great things. But don't forget the mass amount of borrowing it took for him to get there. This is the opposite for Ralph Klein. He is by far the greatest physical conservative ever seen at any one time in any North American narrative. He broke every record. Stephen Harper hated his guts. He screwed him over. He promised us all a magical utopia of autonomy. And he delivered the opposite, full autocracy. I can tell you, Pierre Poilievre was there every step of the way, and the blind Canadians going forward. Massive unemployment and recession are coming at you full tilt. You know what Pierre Poilievre's big video announcement is? I support immigration, skilled trades to Canada, bring them in, bring in all the professionals. We're about to see radical unemployment numbers, deep recessionary periods, 8 years long. Any politician telling you massive immigration and the rest of it, not talk about things like Anwar, massive alleviation, energy security, energy independence, cheap, affordable energy. That was the staple of Alberta forever and a day. Hasn't been that way for a very long time, not since Stephen Harper. Before Stephen Harper. Since Stephen Harper, everything we see today, crafted a lot by him, opposite of what he campaigned on out west, completely opposite. He did the absolute opposite, meaning 90% liar. Liar. Pierre Poilievre is also a 90% liar. This is troubling, and Canadians and even friends and followers me, Lord, Pierre Poilievre is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's not what you say, it's what you put in writing, folks. And what Pierre Poilievre has put in writing, what he's voted for, looks a lot like Justin Trudeau, because it is. They're running on the same platform. Different names, different ways to tax the shit out of you and destroy you, fill their back pockets, create a wealth transfer to all their wealthy globalist friends. If you don't believe me, folks, it was happening at the time of Harper, 2008 financial crisis. You all bailed them out. Then Harper transferred the Bank of Canada. Everybody, the Bank of Canada is your central bank. That's the bank of the people. Stephen Harper took the independence from the Bank of Canada and put it as his privy. He did that by ordering the Supreme Court to rule his way with Rocco Galati from Spain. A foreign influence. Stephen Harper wanted it that way. What Justin Trudeau is doing with the Bank of Canada, the manipulation we've seen, the faults brought forward by the Bank of Montreal and others saying, wait, that this is a fraud of the people. Well, there is no fraud of the people because there is no law, because the Constitution doesn't include you. We should have Anwar. Joe Biden scrapped it. Justin Trudeau went, amen. Because Justin Trudeau blocked all passage out in the deep tankers out to sea. He blocked it all. He's got two bills. Bill C-71, and then he did the pipeline bill. We're done. This has been orchestrated to destroy Canada, destroy you, the people. Republicans have been fighting since Richard Nixon, who crafted it all for everybody. The American Indian, the American people, even the Canadian people. North to Alaska, the old gold road, right through where I grew up. That's the start of it. Every American who went north to Alaska all came through the gold road. And that's the truth. That's the truth. That was the Midwest. You can look at the history. Look at the west coast of that time. Look at BC as it really is, Cascadia. There was no going through there. You had to go through Alberta, which was the Northwest Territory. Look at what the States was at that time. A lot of people have no idea. They have no idea. They have no idea the history, because politicians keep rewriting the truth. And there is no credible journalism to tell you this truth. Look it up, Anwar, in 1973 by Richard Nixon, House and Senate. You can find it all. America doesn't lie, but their politicians certainly do, or fabricate half-truths. You will look and you will find brought to life, yes, by Donald Trump again. He can credit Ronald Reagan. Everybody tried to, everybody did this, everybody did that. At the end of the day, it was the massive, monumental civil rights movement of one Richard Nixon, the massive international binding laws of Richard Nixon through the UNSC, and the binding of that with China, with Russia, cementing everything. Why are we where we are today? Why are we there? Why does Rachel Notley not say a word? Why does Jason Kenney not say a word? Why do no political parties say a word? Why does the news media not say a word? Because they're all getting paid to lie. Absent of history, absent of fact, and absolutely the leading cause of racism in Canada and the United States of America today. Why? Through the Crown. Through the Crown corruption. The racists, the real deep-seated racists in this country, Canada for sure, is absolutely the politicians. Go look at Anwar, the exploration, the movement, the trade practices, the Arctic out. The Arctic out, folks. Deep sea ports, deep multi-capacity tankers that alleviate all our problems. You can ignore BC entirely and go north to Alaska. Not going to happen though, folks. Unfortunately, the corruption is too vast. What Donald Trump approved, Joe Biden smithed in a second. Then he smithed the South. And to put it in perspective, Americans voted, obviously, for America First. This is a poll right now, just 2 weeks ago, completed by Americans, very deadly accurate. Trafalgar has a great track record. And you know what? As America First of 1924, they voted again. Canada came in second, 14.6%. Venezuela, just under that. Iran, under that. More commie lunatics voted for Iran. That's pretty sad, Canada, when you fall on the list of Venezuela and Iran, Saudi Arabia. What Canada's doing out east, what they're trying to do under the royal family, Queen Elizabeth II and Mary Simon. They would rather go against the majority and even a limited minority and take the absolute communist minority and go out there to the greatest human rights atrocity, peoples. Because settling the Canadian Indian, giving any kind of real human rights and dignity to a peoples is apparently wrong. Genocide is good. Beating the shit out of a culture of people is good. Eradicating them is good. That's Rachel Notley, Jason Kenney, Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Yves Blanchette, absolutely. Goes on and on. Candace Bergen, Pierre Poilievre, Stephen Harper before him. We can go all the way back. They're all evil, bad, liars, manipulators, cheats. Not the same for America, though. They value the American Indian and they give them high regard. They've embedded them constitutionally. Water is life in the States. Outside of treaty Indian lands from the 1876, the only one good thing is water is life. The 1 kilometer buffer from Crown lands. But we see foreign enterprises get away with that. But in unceded land, they're dumping in the Great Lakes and every major waterway all of your majority of clean drinking water. It's sad, it's pathetic, it's a joke. This country's broken, corrupted by foreign influence, and yet Anwar, an easy way out, a massive boom in prosperity, a way out of the differential. But no, can't do that. We have to support the Democrats. We have to support the Green New Deal. We have to support carbon tax, carbon pricing, even green equalization if they can get strong enough. I'm sorry, folks. They're all corrupted. They've all been tagged in this. Why is no one talking about it? Why is it again only Donald Trump and his executive order talking about it? Why is energy independence, energy at such a low, reasonable cost to give the Canadian a chance to be prosperous, to follow a dream? Why is that taken away? Why do we have to make trillionaires in this world? Why do we endorse a wealth transfer of 50% to the upper crust from the middle class largely, which means the working Joe Janes? Why is that a good thing? Why are we into oligarchies and monopolies? I don't care. Call them in Russia, sure, call them out. But what about here in the West? What about those imposed on us from Europe? What about that? Where's the domestic? Where's the domestic protections like they have in the United States? There are none, folks. Anwar is a wave goodbye. It's designed, signed, sealed, proved internationally. I mean, we want everybody. Richard Nixon did a monumental amount of work to make all of North America prosperous. When you look at what it would mean for the UNS or UMSMCA, you would find that bolsters everybody. But not to be, and we got to force people into a dominant system of oligarchs. The United States of America under Joe Biden, that's what he wants. A narrative of the wealthy over a very poor class. People relying on the government, meaning increasing government power. Not the constitutional design of the United States, and it's not going to fly. Joe Biden will be gone, Justin Trudeau will be reigning on supreme. Pierre Poilievre is going to come forward in a liar's fashion. Possibly he can trick the Canadian population, enough people to switch over. It's possible. But what will Canada be? Just more of the same Trudeau. You can call it carbon pricing. It's carbon tax all day long. Mr. Poilievre is great at lying. He's been doing it for decades. He's a lifetime Privy Council. If people haven't figured that out, I don't know what to tell you. Because you certainly don't care about the First Peoples, and you absolutely don't care about working Joe Jane Canadian. He is disgusted by you. So is Trudeau. I have no love for Trudeau. I hate the Liberals more than anything. I have met that party, all doctorates, foreign doctorates. You'll hear the European distinct. You'll hear that Commonwealth accents from key nations, led by none other than UK. I mean, that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. You'll even find that in the province of Alberta. Wealthy elites from foreign lands, first-generation Canadians, dual citizens. Hey, that's okay, but don't get an American dual citizenship. You dirty, free bastard. You're no good Canadian, you do that. Why Canadians think that a dual American-Canadian citizenship makes you a disease, yet you elect from all over the Middle East, Southeast Asia, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere in the Commonwealth. Hey, that's perfectly fine. First-generation Canadian. You get them elected. If you don't, you're racist. But those filthy Americans and even filthy former Soviet countries, you can look, they're all tossed out. They're all made to be shamed. It's funny. Those with real federalism and constitutionalism are thrown out of anything in Canada. Because you go against the grain, go against the crown. We don't want no energy independence. We want to import from the worst tyrannical governments in the world where women are slapped out, raped, abused, forced down like a dog. That's good. Apparently that's what Canadians like now. That's what we're fighting for, even though when you look at America's poll says 75.6% of Americans don't want that. Only 2.2 wanted that. 2.2% of lunatics. You can't even get any kind of massive minority in the Democrats currently to support that. Well, yeah, Joe Biden's finished. But I don't think with the narrative from Pierre Poilievre, Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Yves Blanchette, we're going to see anything other than that exact worst case scenario. That's exactly what's going to happen for Canada if they can make the deal. The beautiful part right now is the Middle East is even saying, go pound sand, which means how much more of Canada's unceded and ceded lands are going to be leased out in massive shareholding capacity of those nations to make a deal. That's all there is left, Canadians. It's always on the back of the savage Indian, and I don't say that as my narrative. That's what's cemented in law. That has a clear history currently in Canada today in 2022. It's been there since 1876. I didn't write it. I don't support that. It's against everything I believe in. But this is the official history of Canada, what Canada is exactly today. The most racist of racists in Canada are the politicians. If you haven't figured that out yet, I don't know what to tell you. Only people sworn to the crown, loyal to the Commonwealth, sworn to that system of oppression and absolute genocidal racism, meaning this is Holocaust magnitude kind of stuff. Snuffing out the First Peoples and any color who supports that and keeping a slave class, third class in operation. Doesn't matter what color you are, as long as you're sworn to that crown, you'll do that. Now you're ascended in that first class. Hey, you're right, there's no racism there. Only genocidal destruction of a subservient species of human being. We call it third class Canadians, all colors of the rainbow, and any first person who wishes to give up everything they are, their humanity, their culture, their language, their religion, to join that class of slavery. That's the best First Nations can get. Or they can sell out their people entirely. They can go to the first class, swear the oath, do the deed against their own people. There's many of them too. Any race, any creed, any color, any religion, they all do it because it's humanity. There is no racism. There's only the human need and desire to have power and control. Religions of many denominations try to educate to this view, at least the good ones do. Others gravitate to it too. That's my video. Share, get it out there. It's important. Thank you.